Hello and welcome. In my last video, I had showed you collecting the wild edibles from my own backyard. Most of the things are actually planted. The raspberries, the blackberries, the figs, lots of figs. And what I didn't show you was the blueberry bush because it's not producing this time of year. But I picked some up at the store anyway. Most of the stuff that I get that I don't use right away, I freeze. And that's a good thing. Otherwise I use it fresh. But then there's sometimes a bounty. And what do you do with the bounty to save it for the next season? Well, what I have done in the past is make raspberry jam, blackberry jam, blueberry lemon, and well, what used to be in here was fig jam with a little bit of bacon grease to add some flavoring. Oh, it was delicious. No, I didn't grow the bacon in my own backyard, but it doesn't really matter right now. What I would like to show you is also some other ways of storing foods. And that is by not necessarily pickling, but by preserving it in alcohol. You can make your own alcohol by fermentation. You can make wine. You can also make beer, which I did for many years, made some delicious beers. I just don't have the space nor the liver to continue making my own homemade beers. But it's something that I would recommend that you try at home. And there's also distilling, which is basically taking your beer, letting it ferment, and then instead of bottling it and carbonating it, you distill the alcohol out of it. Bring up the alcohol vapors at a point where the water vapor doesn't evaporate. Condense it, and what you then get is a whole bunch of alcohol. And with alcohol, you can put things into it, such as the blackberries or any other fruit, and make a sort of brandy with it. Now, if you do it before the distillation, that works just fine. It's like making a wine where the grapes ferment, and then you distill out of the grapes. But this time, you would instead throw some raspberries in and ferment them out, or some blackberries and figs, delicious option. It's always helpful to have a cat. They know just what to do. So what I am going to show you how to do is also something that I took bee propolis. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with it, but when bees have an infection in their hive or need to preserve something themselves, an antibiotic they make is called propolis. It's like almost like a hard sap that they bring inside of their hive. And those people that are collecting the honey and the wax and so on can take the propolis, mix it with a little bit of alcohol, and then what you have is a natural antibiotic to use. This is especially good on chigger bites and mosquito bites. The alcohol tends to numb the skin, and the propolis is a healing, protective layer, like an antibiotic cream, but made with something natural from the bees. Here I have just cherries that I preserved in alcohol. Didn't do anything to them. Just put them in some vodka and covered them up to the top with some with the vodka and let the cherries sit. It has a nice flavor to it. These were sour cherries, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. It's not an everyday liqueur, but it's something that does taste pretty good. If you do it with the sweet berries, on the other hand, that works also well. There was a couple years where I was growing peppers in the backyard, among them ghost peppers. Now, if you wonder why they're called ghost peppers, best I can answer is either they kill you and you turn into a ghost because they're so hot, or when you put them in alcohol, they turn white, like a ghost. But now you have something that really spicy. Use this to make some different cocktails with. It's wonderful. Here's some raspberries from last year's season, actually, that are still soaking in alcohol. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So here's some mixed berries that I used to make. And the spruce tree that I showed you, I used the spruce tips, the tiny new growths at the end, the early springtime that they come off. And I put them in the alcohol and let it sit for at least for 2 weeks. If you want to speed it up a little bit, you can put it into a warm water bath, and it tends to help the flavoring come out of the spruce. But it's just easy enough for me to let it sit for 2 weeks, and then strain off the spruce tips, and what you're left with is it's like Christmas in a bottle. It's a very, not necessarily pine, but spruce flavor. Very, very delicious. In this case, I added a bit of honey to it, which you might have to do to a lot of different things. But I'd recommend that you do that unless you know already that you need to, or near the end, because making your own liqueurs can be fun, but it's all about the experimentation. So what I'm going to start off with is 2 different strengths of alcohol, 80 proof, 190 proof. It's just a matter of different amount of water added to it. 200 proof is 100% alcohol. Don't know why they changed the numbers around. And a 100 proof is 50% alcohol. 25 proof is a 50% alcohol. Who knows? Somebody came up with that system and they stuck with it. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take this jar here, and I think I'll make let's go with the raspberries. Always my favorite. I'll go, no, you know what? Mixed berries. So I'll pour a little bit in the bottom. Now these are blackberries, are a little bit on the bitter side, a little bit sour. So I'll take them, put them in, mix them up pretty well. Smush them down. Just smush them is the whole point of this. Smush them down really good. I need to break down the cell walls, release some of the liquids from them. I add a pinch of salt. In this case, an actual pinch. I do that to a lot of the liqueurs that I make, and somehow it just makes them taste a little bit better. Now these I know are going to be a little bit on the bitter side, so I'm going to add a little bit of honey to it. Dribble that on in there. That should be enough. It already smells like berries. Okay. Now to get my measurements right, I got this mushed down to about there. If it all settled in, I'll make a mark on the jar. And then I'll put the same amount of, let's go with the Everclear into it. Okay, I just about doubled the amount of berries that I already had in there. So those berries have liquid in them, so they have just, let's say, brought the alcohol down from 190 proof to 80 proof. If the berries give up all the juice. You just hold on a second. Let's consider it back now. Nice, had to take a break to get some water. Not for me, but for the drink. So it went from 80 proof, and I'll fill it up, doubling it, down to about 40 proof. And 80 proof, you're not going to taste anything. It'll burn the taste buds, whatever you have left. That's why most of your whiskeys and so on, or that are 80 proof, you can add a little bit of water to them, or a cube of ice and let it melt down. Some might call it sacrilege, but you're not going to taste it at 80 proof. 40, 45 proof, now you're starting to taste things. Taste things that are good. Smush them down good. Put a lid on it. Put a label on it. Okay, with the date, of course. So this way I know when I can take it apart and have some delicious liqueur that I can pour out. Now, before I serve it to anybody else, of course, I am going to take a little bit of taste of it, and if I need to, like I did with these raspberries from last season, I'll put a little more honey into it. Some of the good stuff. If you're going to put in sugar, I recommend turning into a simple syrup, equal parts sugar by volume and water. Heat it over the stove a little bit, or microwave, whatever you want to do, until it all melts. Stir it up, and now you have a 50-50 mix of sucrose from plain simple syrup, and that will go well into whatever you're making. Give it a less, a cleaner taste. Some people find it. The honey has its own flavor. You use maple syrup, as that flavor is added to it. The sugar seems to have a neutral addition of sweetness. Now, if you were to use the figs, I'd recommend cutting them up, maybe even running them through a blender with your alcohol, because you're not going to get much through these cell walls just by hitting them with a spoon. Figs are strong and sturdy. If you are going to grow figs on your own, it's important that you let them dry out a little bit. If you're going to store them, dry them out. Take a thread and a needle, go through it, make a whole string like a Christmas string of lights, and then hang them up someplace that's out of the sunlight, but that's also dry. And it doesn't matter that the sun bounces off walls, whatever. It's just that the direct sunlight tends to dry them out a little bit too fast. And I've found that the flavor is not quite as good. So hang them up in a cool, dry place that gets some air moving through it, and let them hang there until they dry out to where you want them. I like to get them to the point where they're just a little bit mushy and they're not too dry, like hard as a rock, which you probably won't get to in your lifetime. Figs do not want to dry out. They have a lot of sugar. The sugar holds on to the water, and so it's really hard. But these I can put up and they will store for months on end, and they'll taste really great. So you got your jams that you can make. Jam's just a matter of mixing up your berries with sugar, and if they don't have a natural pectin, adding a little bit of extra pectin to them. You're doing this in a natural way. Throw a slice of apple in there. Apples have nice natural pectin to them. And then you mix them up, you cook them until they start to become thickened. About the time that you run a spoon through the pan and it leaves a trail behind it on the pan itself, you know you got the right amount for jellies and jams. If you want to strain out the seeds, that's your own thing. Go ahead and do it. I like to keep everything in there, the flesh, the seeds, whatever else, and it just gives a nicer texture to it. I don't need a clean see-through jelly on my toast in the morning. Family secret here is the boilo from Pennsylvania. It's an herbal remedy. Goes back, at least the 19 teens, earliest reference we have in the family. 1909 maybe. I think it was. Anyway, great grandparents made it. It's a coal country Pennsylvania medicinal. You take your cheap whiskey. In this case, they always use the Four Queens, which I think is the greatest cheap whiskey out there. It has a very neutral flavor, nothing offensive to it. $16 a bottle. Anyway, mix equal amounts of the whiskey and water. Put in a whole bunch of honey, like more than you think is a natural amount to put in. Mix in lemons and oranges and limes. And then medicinal herbs like cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, even black pepper. Add in some salt. And what you have is a natural herbal remedy. Anytime in the wintertime that you get cold, you take a little bit of this, pour it into a teacup, pour some hot water on it, equal amounts. Cures whatever you are ailing from. Delicious. But that's how they made up their own herbal remedies to have at home around the Christmas time. Anybody stopping by the house would get a little glass of it. Just enough to take the edge off so you don't get sick walking home afterwards. So, spruce tips, raspberry, blackberry, cherry, jellies, the propolis. All wonderful things that you can take from your backyard and that you can turn into a bounty of liqueurs and jellies and things that you can use when the season's passed and the fresh fruit is no longer there for you. So, thanks for listening. I hope that you give it a try, even if you have to get some of your blackberries or blueberries like these from the store. Wherever they're growing them right now, they're really good. but they're not growing here in Jersey in the fall. So anyway, this is a way of preserving your food for the next season or for the long, cold winter months. So thank you, and good luck trying all this yourself.